There was a moment. Maybe you remember it. Someone came to you crying, broken, needing you, and you did what you always do. You listened. You absorbed. You carried their pain as if it were your own. But this time, something was different. When they left, when the room went quiet again, you didn't just feel tired. You felt hollow, like something inside you had finally cracked. Not your heart, something deeper, something structural. And for the first time in your life, a thought crossed your mind that almost scared you. I can't do this anymore. Not because you stopped caring. That's what makes this so confusing. You still feel everything. You still notice the sadness behind someone's smile, the tension in a room before anyone speaks, the weight people carry when they think no one is watching. You feel all of it. You've always felt all of it. But somewhere along the way, feeling everything for everyone started to destroy you from the inside. And nobody noticed, because the person who holds everyone together is the last person anyone thinks to check on. If that hits something in you right now, stay here, because what we're about to explore is not another video telling you that you're too sensitive or that you need to set boundaries. You've heard that 1,000 times, and it never quite reaches the real wound. This goes deeper. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, described a transformation that most people never talk about. A moment when the one who feels everything stops breaking under the weight of it and begins to turn that same sensitivity into something unshakable, not by shutting down, not by building walls, but by finally understanding what was actually happening inside them all along. Today we're going to walk through that transformation together. The wound that looks like a gift. Here is what no one told you. Your ability to feel what others feel was never just kindness, it was survival. Somewhere early in your life, you learned that reading the emotional temperature of a room kept you safe. You learned to sense anger before it erupted, sadness before it was spoken, danger before it arrived. Your nervous system became finely tuned to everyone around you, and because it worked, because it kept the peace, because people praised you for being so caring and intuitive, you never questioned it. You thought this was just who you are. But Jung would say something uncomfortable here. He would say that much of what you call empathy is actually your shadow at work. Not darkness, not something evil, but something hidden. The shadow contains everything you pushed underground to become the person the world needed you to be. And for empaths, the shadow often holds something very specific. Your own needs, your own anger, your own voice. Think about it. When was the last time you let yourself be the one who falls apart? When did you last say, "I need help," without immediately apologizing for it? You spent so long attending to others that your own emotional world has become foreign territory. And that hollow feeling, that crack you felt, that was your psyche finally saying, you cannot keep giving from an empty place. Something has to change. The persona of the healer. Jung described the persona as the mask we wear for the world. Everyone has one, but yours is particular. Yours is the healer, the listener, the one who is always okay, always available, always strong enough to hold space for someone else's pain. And here is the trap. People love this version of you. They depend on it. They call you at midnight. They unload their problems over coffee. They say things like you're the only one who understands. And that feels good. It feels like purpose. But what is actually happening is that your persona has fused with your identity. You no longer know where the mask ends and you begin. So when you try to say no, when you try to pull back, it doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels like you are betraying who you are. Guilt floods in. You think, if I stop being there for people, then who am I? That question, that terrifying question, is exactly where the transformation begins. The collapse, that saves you. There is a moment in every empath's life when the old way simply stops working. The body breaks down. The emotions go numb. The resentment you swore you didn't have starts leaking out in sharp comments, in sudden withdrawal, in a fatigue so deep that sleep doesn't touch it. Jung would recognize this immediately. He would call it the beginning of individuation, the process of becoming who you actually are beneath all the roles you have played. An individuation almost always starts with a collapse, not because you are weak, but because the false structure has to fall before the real one can be built. You were never meant to carry everyone. That was a story you told yourself, because the alternative, letting people sit with their own pain, felt like abandonment. But it isn't abandonment. It is respect for them and for you. The collapse is not your failure. It is your psyche refusing to let you disappear inside the needs of others any longer. What lies beneath the empathy? When you finally stop performing care and sit in the silence that remains, something strange happens. You begin to meet parts of yourself you have been avoiding for years. The anger you swallowed every time someone took your kindness for granted. The grief of never having been truly seen. The loneliness of always being the strong one. These are not weaknesses. In Jungian terms, these are pieces of your shadow asking to be integrated. And integration doesn't mean fixing them or getting rid of them. It means looking at them directly and saying, you belong here too. The empath who only knows how to give is incomplete. The empath who can also receive, who can also rage, who can also say, not today, that is a whole person. That is someone whose compassion comes not from fear, but from fullness. And there is a word of difference between the two. The unbreakable empath. So what does it actually look like when the empath becomes unbreakable? It doesn't look like armor. It doesn't look like coldness or detachment. It looks like a person who feels deeply, but is no longer controlled by what they feel. Someone who can sit with another's pain without absorbing it. Someone who can love without losing themselves inside that love. Jung would call this the union of opposites. Sensitivity and strength existing in the same body. Compassion and boundaries held in the same hand. The ability to feel everything and the wisdom to know that not everything you feel is yours to carry. This is not something you achieve once. It is something you achieve once. It is something you practice every time you pause before saying yes. Every time you let someone be disappointed in you without rushing to fix it. Every time you choose rest over rescue. You are building something new inside yourself. Not a wall, but a foundation. And the people who truly love you will notice something different. Not that you care less, but that your caring has weight now. It has roots. It comes from someone who is present, not someone who is drowning. And that kind of care, the kind that flows from a full soul rather than an empty one, is more healing than anything you ever offered when you were running on fumes. The return. Here is the part no one tells you about this transformation. You don't lose your sensitivity. You don't become hard. You become clear. You feel just as much as you always did, maybe more. But now you can hold it without it destroying you. Now you know which pain is yours and which belongs to someone else. Now you understand that the greatest act of empathy is not absorbing the world's suffering, but remaining whole enough to actually help. Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And for you, that means something very specific. It means becoming an empath who no longer breaks. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you stopped feeling. but because you finally learned to feel for yourself with the same tenderness you have always given to everyone else. That is not selfishness. That is the deepest healing there is. And it has been waiting for you all along, right there in the silence you were always afraid to sit in.